Right, we're actually
Uh,
we're live now.
uh,
So
Live and out of control. There is no
this
cola to keep us in check. So
we're just ad libbing this mother.
yeah, the lunatics are running the asylum. It's
Welcome one
finally
and all.
happened.
Welcome,
woo!
welcome to the Imperial Advisor, our next issue of the Imperial Advisor. Here tonight we have Baz, we've got Justin, we've got Owen, and we've got myself. And tonight we are going to bring to you all of the great stuff that is the Phoenix, anything to do with Phoenix, basically. So we've got a ton of Phoenix shit to throw at you.
And we're going to do it way better than Column. Way better.
Yeah.
Andy, be louder. I shall be louder. Is that louder? I hope this
That's
is
the
louder.
first time that's been spoken. Are those the first time those words have ever been said?
I appreciate that, John. Okay, so we're going to start tonight with the story. So the Phoenix story. So Shiba Tsukune and the Elemental Masters. And I would say I'd like to hear from Justin about this one.
I bet you would. It was good. It was a good introduction to the Phoenix. I really enjoyed the way it was written. I mean, there was a palpable sense of the Phoenix as a clan of ritual and spirituality, difficult to say, but certainly the ritualistic aspect and the deep importance that they ascribe to, just what's the word? Doesn't matter. But no, I like that. There were a couple of small things which I suppose are just the old Phoenix player in me getting a little nostalgic almost. I was really sad Ojimitsu is dead. Really sad. Because a lot of new players aren't going to know what Ujimitsu was like, and he was kind of amazing. He was this this ridiculously laid back, unbelievably benevolent, gentle kind of individual who just popped up all over the place doing small kind of good deeds for people. And he was kind of amazing, and it was a bit sad to see that he is already dead.
Yeah, it was a shame that the Hotaru killing Ujimitsu off screen wasn't covered more.
Yeah,
maybe we'll get to the
absolutely.
flashbacks later.
She was robbing her of glory, but maybe we'll get to that at some future time. So the choosing of the new champion was one of the small things that slightly irked is a strong word, but kind of disappointed me very, very slightly. Just for some background, in old 5R, the way the Phoenix champion was chosen was the soul of Shiba chose someone completely, seemingly at random within the clan. It simply chose what it viewed as the most suitable candidate or the best candidate, and that could be anybody. High-ranking samurai, it could be, a nobody working out on border patrol. It could be anybody at all. Whereas in this story, Ofushikai, the sword, is basically is the mechanism that chooses the champion. So there was just a slight inconsistency there that I thought. So how do you know that the person Ofushikai is going to choose is going to be within the number of people that it's handed to? That was the only kind of.
Well, presumably, if
that
it hadn't got through the first 10, they'd move on to the next 10 and then keep working their way through the entirety of the Phoenix clan until they found someone maybe worthy.
Yeah, but the new Phoenix clan champion is on visiting Crablands or something. How do you get that person? Anyway, that's a really small niggle. As I said, I suppose one of the kind of, I suppose, lesser featured Phoenix, certainly in old 5R, which was that the Phoenix are very much there's a strong streak of establishment, just anti-establishment Arianism running through the Phoenix. Their champion serves the masters as opposed to the other way around. So their champion who carries the soul of a county serves mere mortals. They have the path of man, which is as close to blasphemy as you get outside the Kolat. Speaking of which, they have strong Colat elements within the clan as well. So the Phoenix were, again, it was one of the many contradictions of the Phoenix, where they are one of the most religiously conservative clans, insofar as they are the religious authority. But within the clan, they contain a huge heterodoxy of often highly contradictory elements. And I can understand why the choosing of the champion was perhaps reduced and simplified and made into a much clearer process. But I also feel that starts to dissipate what were some of the most interesting and fascinating aspects of the Phoenix as a clan. But that's just
Phoenix Grognard.
That's it. Absolutely. It's it's tiny
deep.
Details.
That was deep,
So
Justin.
I really did enjoy it, but I've got some problems with the Phoenix.
Ooh.
So I got to call some shit out.
Here
First,
comes
Tadaka
and blah blah blah.
Totally inappropriate workplace environment. Like there's some serious sexual harassment suits ready to happen there.
Oh boy.
All right, skipping forward a bit, we have. I'm not sure whether it's incompetence in picking the clan champion, because there's a kind of an element that maybe they picked the wrong one. Did the sword move when it was being handed to the next in line? Or is it just clan champion nepotism, where, the previous one's just picking his sister? So I wasn't very happy with that. Then there's the entrusting all of the knowledge and wisdom of Rokugan to the Phoenix clan, who can't even keep a library from spontaneously combusting. That was pretty bad. And what's going on with the Masters? There's shenanigans. There's that.
Yeah, well, as usual, the
accident.
Masters are probably all high as kites, because that's what the Masters do. But I mean, oh, go on.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed the fact that they are doing the thing where you have quite a naive person coming into power as the Phoenix clan champion, because they've centered all of the fiction so far around the clan champion. But they then draw a distinction that the Masters are up to something else at the same time. That tension within the Phoenix, where you have this clan champion who in some ways is servant to a higher power, which might be the Council of Five, who are basically there going, well, we're doing our thing, and really you're kind of here because everyone else is a clan champion. We need a clan champion as well, but we're in charge. And they've got the deeper mysteries going on with them. That's interesting, because it was one of my favorite bits in the gold changeover was when Shiba Tsukune cuts the table of the five masters in half and says, let it be remade with room for 6. And then that's never mentioned again. So presumably they just kicked her out of the council chamber.
Yeah. Know your role and shut your mouth. Anyway, I mean, regardless, Baz, I think we can both agree that Strange Women, Lion and Pawns is no basis for a system of governance. And so on and so forth. Supreme executive power does indeed derive from a mandate from the masses. Not from some kind of farcical ceremony. So we're right on board. I'm aboard with you there.
Do you think this is one of the biggest divergences from the original L5R story for the clans so far?
I actually think Yukuni's is probably bigger, because Yukuni, they're hinting that Yukuni is not Yukuni the Kami. He may absolutely still be Yukuni the Kami, but the apparent epileptic fit or seizure is a huge departure. This is
gender fluctuatory,
but I think the fact. Yeah, well, I mean. Yeah.
Did that really change much?
Not a huge amount.
Had to go there, Baz. But no, it's not a huge departure. But as I said, I mean, it was again, it's like, as Baz said, it's pure Phoenix grognardism. It's just, those were elements of the Phoenix that I personally found really, really interesting. And to see it kind of simplified and brought down to a sorting hat kind of situation, Gryffindor was a little sad. But that said, there could be a bigger reason for that. It's far too early to make any kind of judgments. So, that's really completely on me.
I have to admit, I actually don't know that much of the original background for the Phoenix. But just when we're kind of talking about changes that they're beginning to make. I think part of that is they're actually going back and they're trying to make things make sense, and they're trying to put all of the elements there in place. Whereas from the old environment, essentially what was happening was there were bits and pieces, and then they'd retcon parts and put it all together, and then the way books came out and they kind of developed. Whereas from the get-go, we're getting a lot more kind of concrete elements. Things are much better put together and kind of makes sense for a more overarching story, which I think is great. I'm really interested to see what happens more, and I think it was fantastic that they named a bunch of the masters, and I really want to find out. Hopefully,
soon to be also dead.
Well, yeah, I actually want to find out what happened to that unnamed elemental fire student who took one for the team and presumably is going to go rogue and underground. Anything could happen.
Aria, surely. That's got to be a Sawin Aria.
Ooh. I'll have to read up more.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I don't know for sure, but it would make a lot of sense.
Does his story
again go back?
Does his story arc end with him flying and flinging fireballs everywhere? That's how most elemental fire masters' stories end, as I recall.
Yeah. With explosions. But Diarrhea was, as far as, I could be wrong, but I don't know. But as far as I remember, he was a very promising Phoenix student who left Phoenix lands in disgrace and never went back again. He had a huge grievance against the Phoenix. This story would make perfect sense for that, because he's been effectively blamed for something that wasn't his fault, and his promising career as the next Master of Fire has been, somewhat tragically, boom, and purely for political expedience, little more than that, just so the masters can save face and look good. So it could be. It'd be amazing if he was. That'd be super, because that was, I think, one mystery that was never really closed in L5R. But I could be wrong. Of the masters, Tsuke is the only one we know for sure that probably sticks around. All the other ones are very shortly for the chopping block in some way or other. And it was good to see Tadaka being an absolute jerk. Purely because not because he was just being a jerk. That being a jerk is never cool, but just because it sets up his character arc really well. The transition from a selfish, egotistical braggart into what he becomes, which is effectively the essence of the Phoenix clan. It's what Tadaka is the single character that defines the Phoenix clan, certainly for me.
And Tadaka is the Raiden style guy with the hat?
Yeah, the Master of Earth. He becomes he's the Phoenix Clan Thunder.
Because that's a clothing style that didn't kick off, and I think it really should have. So hopefully with the reboot, we'll see a lot more of that. Yeah.
Well, you never know. It could just be Tadaka just doing his thing, but he was borderline unbearable in the fiction, which is great, because it does hopefully set up that long arc where he does transition from someone who is arrogant into just the embodiment of Phoenix awesomeness, the self-explodey, but basically he transitions from a braggart to someone who is invested in self-sacrifice, and that would be pretty cool. Anyway, I've talked loads. Somebody else.
Speaking about what was the word you just said? Transferring and something about Phoenix awesomeness. We're going to move straight on to some Phoenix awesomeness and take a look at some cards. So you guys have been, I wouldn't say salivating over them, not so much. Justin, have you got your cards? Have you got your rating cards ready?
Oh, no, that was good.
All right, we were going to get Justin to score some of these cards, but he's unfortunately going to have to give more commentary on them. Okay, so let's do this. Let's start with. Oh, this is going to be interesting. First one.
Can you do it? This is the test.
It's Aisawa Moriseido. So this is the stronghold. So it's action. By the stronghold, choose a character. that character gets +2 glory until the end of the phase. We've seen this before, right? This hasn't been this. Is this brand new or is this not brand new? I can't remember at this point.
It's pretty brand new.
It's pretty brand new.
It's pretty brand.
What do we think? So +2 on the strongholds for strength, 7 the usual, 11 and 10. 11 starting honor and 10 influence. So
it's the worst strong previewed so far.
So the +2 glory sort of implies that you're going to want to be doing a lot of things with honoring your characters or dishonoring other people's characters.
Yeah, the reason I'm not a huge fan of this stronghold just yet is that while all the strongholds are conditional to a certain extent, this is by far the most conditional stronghold. You have to have actively changed the game state in a very specific way before you can use this. It's very, very flexible, but it demands so much before you get to use its ability that frequently I think it's just going to sit there not doing anything for several turns, or during a couple of turns, which is huge, absolutely huge. So so that's my quickest. I mean, all the stats are pretty much standard. There's nothing out of the ordinary, but the action is so super conditional that I think it's by quite a stretch the worst stronghold we've seen so far.
Which is interesting. It's like if you compare it to the line is attacking only and gets you +1, obviously for each of your guys. Similar for the crab, except it gets a little bit more flexibility because you're getting military and you're getting political. Then you move over to the crane. Again, crane is only political, and bows a guy with 2 or less. Dragon, I guess, is the closest you have. Now, dragon is conditional as well, in that you need to have an attachment attached to the card. But obviously, getting attachment down is a lot easier than getting someone honored or dishonored. The flip side of that, and I guess why they've gone this direction, is while the dragon is only going to be able to affect your guys, where you're able to play around a little bit more with your opponents. You can get them dishonored. We think you can also help out with getting in the Imperial favor, assuming you can actually trigger this at the start of the end phase if there's an action window. Not sure we're sure of that yet. But yeah, I can absolutely see it. Just trying to put together decks, you really want to cram everything that honors or dishonors anything in there. And because of the nature of honor running, it is incredibly tricky.
Well, the other thing that you can use is this thing panders to the rings very, very well. So I'd say one of the rings, is it fire that honors or dishonors a character? Yeah, I think if you're probably not going to see an awful lot of active fire play. So people, I know for a fact, and I know for sure when I was playing Lion versus Crab, fire was the least important ring in that entire game. So I feel like if you're going up against the military clan, or maybe fire will not be the most relevant things, but you can still claim it with the other cards that you have in the Phoenix arsenal. You might still be able to claim it, use it, manipulate it a bit, maybe get additional uses of it.
Now, the dilemma with that is that you want to win the fire ring so you can use the stronghold so you can win the fire ring.
That's fair, yeah. The precondition of this of being the precondition of this having an impact only when something is honorable or just affecting glory is kind of
or dishonorable.
Or dishonorable, yeah. It's really, really, I would say this was definitely the weakest of the strongholds we've seen.
Yeah, it's so specific.
The one thing I like about it is there's some half-decent blitz potential off it. Banzai is +4 military strength, but with this stronghold, court games can be +4 political strength.
Very true.
Which is not nothing, and I think court games is the most important buff that Phoenix have, because it reliably allows them to honor one of their guys without having to win a challenge first. Doing else, court games just my guy's honored, and that's massive for Phoenix because it opens up a huge amount that they can do, and then the stronghold is just additional pump after that. So yeah, it's quite situational, but if you have that honored guy out, that's a big stat pump.
And just to add on to that, unlike the others, this is until the end of the phase, not until the end of the conflict. which means if you manage to go over there, court games get a big boost on whoever's attacking. If you can straighten them, you still have that glory boost. They're still honored. You can go in there and you can do it again. Similar with the dishonor effects. And there are a couple of cards that also key off it. We'll get into some of the Phoenix cards specifically, but Miramoto's Fury was one of the best defensive cards out there, and this shuts down Miramoto's Fury.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's not entirely used. It's I mean, you know, it can be powerful. It is flexible, but the prerequisite setup costs are very, very high. In terms of where we understand the game is at the moment. I mean, there could be a couple of cards that completely change how this looks. But at the moment, it seems to be the weakest of the strongholds. It's got a huge upside. It's got probably a bigger upside than any of the other than any of the strongholds. But the floor that you have to meet to make use of that is really high. Really high.
I'm going to completely undermine Justin and agree with him. So it's the biggest damnation of an opinion ever when I agree with someone. Owen, you were going to say something?
I think that's the Phoenix all over. They are potentially massive payout, but difficult to get there. And I think some people will finish that challenge, and other people are very frustrating and very vulnerable to your opponent's disruptive play. But I think they've got a couple of tools that enable them to possibly play into get those big plays going. And if they manage it, they're huge.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they more than any clan, they seem like a snowball clan. If they get rolling early, they're just going to destroy you. And if they don't, they're going to feebly flail around for a few turns before rolling over and quietly dying. So...
All right, we're going to address next. We're going to address what I think is she sort of blew me away straight away when I saw the card. So it's Shiba Sukune. So a 5-cost character for a 4/4 with 4 glory. When the conflict phase ends, resolve the ring effects of up to 2 unclaimed rings as if you were the attacking player. Baz, you want to take this one first?
Yeah, so the fact that she's got 4 glory is great. We'd already talked about how important it is to get those honoring effects down, and that still counts. She is not a Shigenja, which is very much expected, her being a Shiba, but does mean there's a lot of cards that you wish could key off her that don't. The ability is golden. You're getting 2 unclaimed rings at the end of the turn as if you won on the attack. That means a lot of times you're going to look at that last conflict and you're not going to bother declaring it. Why would you? Unless you're going to take the province, it's not worth your while. You can just sit back instead, leave her 4 glory ready to take the favor, and get 2 wins. And again, I think this kind of comes down to what seems to be a bit of a theme with the Phoenix. She doesn't really help you win on the turn you've got her. She's actually all about the next turn. So the turn you make her, she's really just a 4/4. If you can either get Ring of Fire or make sure it isn't captured, she's going to trigger that. She's going to boost herself, honor herself. Ring of Water at the end of turn will straighten her in time to add more glory to the Imperial favor. Like all of those any of the ones that you can get, even if you're just getting an extra 1, that chances is you've taken 2 and you're getting a third one. She's really fantastic, and it's always I've played a few games with her, and it's been a joy getting her on the table, especially in cases where your opponent's struggling to get in or you're able to deny them specific rings. I really enjoy her.
I've got a question. You're saying that she won't do much the turn she comes out, but I'm kind of thinking that's maybe not true, because her interrupt happens at the end of every conflict phase.
So the conflict phase is after all of the 4 conflicts have happened.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get all of them. So yeah, she will have an effect that turn, but it's not going to take provinces. She'll be able to bow herself or bow somebody else, but it's only going to affect the Imperial favor when you're looking at water. Earth is going to be great, but the card you drew isn't going to be one that you're going to be able to play this turn. Air essentially is the same, I guess. That's not going to have much of a difference. Void, again, is similar. You'll get to trigger it. Yeah, I mean, for a few of them, it is going to be active. You are right.
I wouldn't
but
say
I do.
Yeah. I wouldn't say
I do kind of feel
handstand has no effect.
she's more like she could say at the start of her next turn, trigger it. You know, it's just so late in the turn that it kind of feels like you're setting up for the next turn rather than really getting a benefit out of this turn. That said, once she gets honored, she is an 8/8 beat stick. She holds it with the best of them. I've heard a lot of people saying that she's possibly the best champion that they've seen so far, and I think I agree.
Owen, how do you weigh in on this one?
I think she's a bit of a slow roller. She is not a huge amount of pressure when she initially comes out, but that pressure ramps up towards the start of the next turn. She's very unhappy if she only sticks around for a turn. So I think she really wants to be 7 Fate put into her, or a Good Omen, or Preve, or something else to make her hang around that little bit longer. She is very unhappy if she only comes out and does 1 turn of glory, whereas some of the other clan champs can come out, do 1 turn, and have a massive effect on the game. I mean, I think I like her. She's not as explosive immediately, but I think if she hangs around for a bit, she really starts to put some pressure on your opponent. I don't know if Water Ring does a lot with her trait, because I'm not sure it interacts with the favor. We'll have to take a look at the rule book when it comes out and see what the exact wording is, because they're going to imply that favor is done after the conflict phase, or we're not sure. We can see when it's done.
Yeah, but even if the favor is after the conflict phase, her interrupt occurs when the conflict phase ends, so that should still go off before.
Yeah, so this is an after. If it says when it ends, it means after it has ended, right?
There's an interesting timing chart. There's an interesting timing chart for it. I think there are 3 ones that they commonly use, and I think when is the in between one. But so it should happen before you get out, before you get onto the next phase. I think it happens exactly when the conflict phase ends.
Okay, so an after effect would be after this. So when is the intermediary between before and after?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Oh, that makes sense. For a minute there, it seemed like it was an error in wording of some sort, or maybe they were just getting a little bit mixed up with timings. But that actually makes sense if there's 3 timings, and they keep to this. So
I
Justin,
expect they will.
do you feel you've weighed in already on this on Shiba Sukune?
She's amazing. I mean, at the very worst, she's going to accrue you some incremental advantages that will grow the more, like as Owen said, the longer she hangs around, the more the kind of the worst case incremental advantages have a chance of accruing into something that actually makes a concrete impact on the game. And in the right situations, she can absolutely explode and go crazy. She can put your opponent in all kinds of terrible situations if you can get her honored very, very quickly. She can sit there basically demanding that they overcommit to win a conflict, at which point they're open to all kinds of they're basically they leave themselves open then to Phoenix ring shenanigans, which can just destroy a game right there and then.
Absolutely.
So again, she's kind of a low floor, high ceiling character again, but she's just fantastic. You know, she's really good. I think she probably is. I don't know. I think Yukuni is maybe still the best champion, although his stock has taken a little hit with the release of Against the Waves, is it? I think his stock has actually taken quite a bit of a hit with that, but she's fantastic. She's great.
Yeah, I gotta agree with everything you guys are saying about investing in her, about just the. I actually think she's got a reasonably high floor, but a very high ceiling. I mean, if with the stronghold, she's a 10/10, and that is bucket loads of force or military or political power that you can throw at anything, and then being able to resolve 2 rings, the 2 rings that were unresolved, and all of the stuff that you can do as Phoenix with rings in the first place. I think she's an absolute terror.
And her art,
she is
absolutely amazing.
And There are scores. As I said, I mean, the thing is...
Go
Go ahead, Owen.
About her art, if you look at the full bleed of her art in the Stronghold, there's actually a much darker red color below her,
All right.
which indicates to me that something is up, possibly within the clan, or possibly maybe implying there's a dark heart within the Phoenix, or some darkness within them that she hasn't figured out yet. If you look at her full bleed art from...
Did you say blood speakers?
No one said blood
The
speakers.
red is very bloody. If you take a look at the stories page, if you go down to the end, the Champion of the Phoenix, the art right at the bottom there, basically it's for Sheppard Skune is really, there's a real dark blood colouring underneath her. So if you go to the last page of the story and take a look at Sheppard Skune, Resolute Champion of the Phoenix Clan, there's this much darker red underneath her kimono, which is interesting.
Interesting if true. Interesting if true.
This is some serious Cooney witch hunter action going on here. She's got red. She's got red on her.
I gotta say, the one thing I dislike about this card is her flavor text. I will do my best.
Yep.
Losers,
I
losers
really
do their best.
That's
Winners
true.
go home and
Yeah.
you know what they do.
We do.
Do or do not. There is no try.
There's no try. Okay, moving on. Way of the Phoenix. I feel like we've seen... No, is this new? You guys have got to tell me which one's...
Oh, yeah, this is... This is new.
Pretty much everything's new. There's only a handful of them.
So zero cost event, philosophy, if that makes any difference whatsoever. Action, choose a ring and an opponent. That player cannot declare conflicts of that ring's element this phase. Max 1 per phase. How about you, Owen? What do you think of this one?
Brilliant card. Generally, every turn, there's a ring that's the most important. And way the Phoenix goes, well, you're not getting that ring this turn because I'm going to get it. And here's why you can't get it. And either if I'm going first, I get to get it. If I'm going second, I get to Way of the Phoenix, and you don't get to get it. So it's a huge control card. And if you're both kind of playing conquesty decks looking to smash each other's provinces, air is not terribly important. And fire may or may not be important. And you can go, well, actually, what you really want to do this turn is you're going to avoid my Sheppard Skune, so Void's off the table right now. And that kind of control is very important. And particularly because, as we'll see, some of the Shigenja are more powerful if they're in a particular type of conflict, or if you've already resolved a particular type of conflict, you've claimed the ring already. And as that goes forward, I'd say that'll be a continuing theme. And Way of the Phoenix is the bit that goes, actually, I am going to get that ring this turn because you don't have an option to get it. And that's huge.
Yeah. Guys, any other opinions?
So,
Yeah,
Way of the Phoenix, worst way ever.
Go on, Baz, you're going to have to qualify that.
Wow.
Do I really? So it's everything. Everything Owen has said is.
But you do.
Everything Owen has said is correct. And there's lots of cases where you can play it. I think the fact that you're playing it to try activate some of the abilities on your Shigenja just indicates problems with those Shigenja in the first place. There is also the case where there's two fate sitting on a ring. You can sit this on it. That ring won't get taken, and then if you're starting turn next turn, you're going to walk away with 3 fate. So that's there are some clever ways to use it, but again, this isn't really helping the Phoenix win. This is helping the Phoenix set up things, put things in place, and it's helping them stop their opponent from getting their primary thing they'd like to get done. But there are other rings, there are other choices. I can see the case that a really good player will make some really good choices, but a lot of the time there's 2 or 3 options open to the opponent, and they'll just take a different choice. No, I don't like this way. Compared to the others, I definitely think this is the weakest of them.
It's no Way of the Crab, that's for certain. But Justin, how do you feel about it?
I really like this card.
I figured you might actually.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that I really enjoy. I mean, again, this card does play in quite a bit to the mind games that Phoenix can indulge in terms of dangling carrots and then pulling them away. Again, we'll get on to, I think, cards we've previewed already or looked at already, but display of power is the big one, where you can make what appears to be, well, I mean, you can lock someone out of a ring, and then, you know, when they take the next obvious best option, you can just display of power that ring, and you can, by that means you
get
can
onto display of power, but
yeah, I know you don't like this, but the more I think about this card, and and having seen the games the Phoenix played, the more I think this card is an essential 3 of. But we'll get on to that. We may have differing opinions. But Way of the Phoenix. Now, what Baz is saying is absolutely correct. It is a setup card, but at the same time, the games are generally so short in the number of turns that dominating a ring at a critical time, you know, on any turn, really can provide an enormous change in momentum in the game. Absolutely. So, you know, so while it's a card that does not help you, as Baz said, it doesn't help you win on the board, but it creates situations that if you play them well enough, and if you're lucky enough, like, you know, if you play them well enough and your plays come off, they give you an opportunity to really set up or switch an otherwise collapsing board position, or to really, you know, rat home an advantage. So again, on paper, I mean, obviously I haven't played the card yet, but on paper it's a card I really like. But that said, I will still have to wait and see before I can make a proper judgment. But to me, it seems pretty strong. You know, I like it. I like it.
So you're talking about Way of the Phoenix, and I've been flashing up Display of Power because you mentioned it as well. I think the two in concert, sort of, I can see situations where you can just absolutely dominate somebody's hand with the Earth Ring. You can dominate the board with glory, with high glory cards and honoring and dishonoring. You can just have complete control over phases, over aspects of the game if you want to go heavy in that direction. And I think the more cards that come into the game, the more powerful you're going to see Phoenix becoming. The more each of their individual lines of play becomes solidified, the better that they're all going to be.
So I think maybe we should quickly describe what Display of Power does.
I have it showing up on the screen.
Okay.
It's been there the whole time.
So anyone who's listening to us on the podcast, they can look at it themselves. My problem...
No, it'll take 2 seconds, Baz. Okay, so Display of Power is a 2 fate cost event, and reaction after you lose an unopposed conflict, cancel the ring effect of that conflict. Then you resolve that ring effect as if you had won the conflict as the attacking player, and you claim that ring. Okay, so it costs 2 fate, but it also has a couple of hidden costs, because a conflict has used. It's going to cost you 1 honor as well, because it is played defensively in an unopposed conflict. And there's also a good chance that your province is going to have exploded because you had no defenders. So it does have some hidden costs in addition to the 2 fate, but the effect can be absolutely huge. Anyway, back to Baz.
So yeah, my issue with it really is how difficult it is to play. Early game, it at least at the first turn, it can be tricky to have that 2 fate extra. And if you do, you're kind of telegraphing that you have it. When you set up for it, essentially you're losing 1 honor, and you're probably losing a province. Is my gut feel. When the game progresses a little bit longer, if you have this and you're on your last province, it's useless. If you have it and you've got you've got 1 before they move into the stronghold, that's a real gamble. Like that's a real risk. And 2 fate and a point of honor can be a hell of a cost. You are cancelling one of their ring effects and you're getting to push it back. But the ring effects often are quite subtle. And it's all about getting those kind of increments up along the way. I have seen a couple of cases where it's been really, really good. And playing against Phoenix, I can imagine anyone will look over and see 2 fate, and they're like, no, there's a Display of Power. He's just waiting for me to go into it. But I think a lot of times they're just going to go take that province anyway, because it's almost always worth taking a province.
Fair enough. We'll move on. We'll keep it going, keep it
Oh, sorry. I just want to rebut very slightly.
Oh, go for it, Justin. Go for
Okay,
it.
so yeah, no, I'm just saying, again, from the games that I've seen, and as we've said already, Phoenix are a clan that needs to set up really, really fast, or else they just seem to get swamped. Like just the general superiority of their opponent's card quality just seems to run Phoenix down if Phoenix don't get up and running very, very quickly. And Display of Power is a card that allows you to set up very, very quickly. So the other thing that's worth noting is that there are a few rings in the early game are played or are basically contested far more than other rings. Like the Ring of Void, for example, is one that is contested. I think I've seen Void on turn 1 in every game that we've played. And if that's the case, then Display of Power if you're using Display of Power to steal Void, then Display of Power is effectively free, because you are removing one fate from one of their characters and you are not losing one fate from one of yours. So it's a 2-fate swing. And on top of that, it creates a board position where your opponent's like, if you're removing fate from like a 3-cost character or a 4-cost character, then you are gaining in terms of virtual economy quite a bit. So, I mean, again, this is a hard card to use. Knowing when to play this and when not to play this is going to be a huge skill test. But I firmly believe that given the fragility of Phoenix, you absolutely need to have 3 of those, because if nothing else, you have to threaten the possibility of having a display, which makes your opponent play more cautiously. So anyway, but I mean, this is something I think that, again, as we play more games, it's going to be hashed out an awful lot more. But for me, this card at the moment, from what we've seen of Phoenix, is an absolute essential, because just the threat of it achieves far more than I think than is immediately apparent. I think given the fragility of Phoenix, it's very important for them right now. So anyway, that's my rebuttal.
It's a long rebuttal.
Yeah.
Anyhow, moving on. So Against the Waves. So it's a 1-cost event. Spell, water, action, choose the Shigenja character, bow or ready that character. Opinions. Justin, let's start with you this time.
Yeah, it's the best event that Phoenix have. It's great and all. There are so few situations where this is not good. It makes Togashi Yakuni so much worse. Yeah, really, really cried. It's like Yakuni's like, oh. So it's just, again, with the way that Phoenix work, anything that gives you double duty is hugely, hugely important. I mean, this is a card that can potentially allow you to win a conflict like this. Effect, I mean, this effectively cancels out Miramoto's Fury if Miramoto's Fury targets one of your Shigenja.
Yep.
And that's a really big deal. And if you've got a big Shigenja that's laden down with stuff, then you're readying that Shigenja for 1. It's just massive. It's massive. Like 3 of in every Phoenix deck forever, probably at this stage, until maybe Phoenix get enough courtiers and Samurai. I don't know, but it's.
I think we can sort of all agree that this is a fairly staple card. Really flexible, really good.
Any of the unbow effects we've seen in the test game so far have doubled the effectiveness of a character, and a lot of the time take a second province just by playing that card.
Yeah.
And actually, just on that Yakuni thing, against Phoenix, pretty much no one's going to make a large Shigenja first turn, maybe ever. Because you know they're going to have this, because they're going to be playing it for themselves, and it's just an extra bonus. It's an amazing card. There's no downside.
Cool. Let's keep it rolling. So next one is a 1-cost event, Know the World. So it's a spell Void. Action, switch a ring in your claimed ring pool with an unclaimed ring and gain all fate on that ring. Retain the ring's conflict type. So more ring manipulation, putting stuff back in, allowing it to maybe be claimed again. Is that what I'm seeing here? That could you potentially reclaim a ring? That's been put back in. Yeah. So I mean, more synergy with Sukune, more synergy with just ring manipulation in general. You guys have any strong opinions on this one?
I don't
no-
think this is a very good card.
I think this is possibly the best card Phoenix have.
Oh, wow. Controversy.
I
Controversy
don't.
advanced.
No. I don't think this is a very good card for a number of reasons. It once again falls into the Phoenix have to win rings before they can do anything trap, and it does nothing to help you win those first rings. And then its effect is conditional and and borderline marginal. It's just given the state, I can absolutely see a state of affairs where in 6 months or a year time, this card is absolute horseshit, and Phoenix, like people playing against Phoenix are going to be tearing their hair out every time this gets played on them. But for right now, I don't think it does anything that the Phoenix need.
Now, I can see a scenario where you play Wave the Phoenix and your opponent cannot pick a certain ring. So they pick that other ring, and it happens to be water. So they attack with water, intending to bow out one of your guys. Then you display of power, water gets cancelled, triggers for you, and then you have claimed water, you switch out your water for something else, and then you go on the attack, bowing. Like, there are shenanigans that can certainly happen in there. And I think that is kind of part of it. Especially when we're looking at these cards, I think for me at least, there's a habit to kind of think back about the old setup, the way you'd kind of draw into your cards, you'd put your things down, and they'd be around 3-4 turns later, and it's just a matter of putting the bits in place. And I think there's a lot of working parts for Phoenix at the moment, which is something I'm not entirely happy with.
I can definitely see what you're talking about there. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this card. I can't. I don't think in the beginning, or the idea I think on this card is that, okay, yeah, you're manipulating rings, but you're also gaining fate. So you're trying to get squeeze some sort of fate advantage out of this card, which I just don't think adds up. If you're going to play any other conflict or any other event that manipulates rings, it's going to cost you even more fate to sort of do anything. So I don't see this card actually yielding value above and beyond one.
It's a card that you'd maybe play one of in a deck, maybe, but I think in most situations, Way of the Phoenix is just going to be superior to this.
Yeah.
Not least of all because Way of the Phoenix is free.
But this is a win more. I mean, if you're looking to honor run and you've just taken air, this is perfect. Like, you switch it around and then you win your second conflict and you take air again. But again, it doesn't. When you're winning, you will get an extra bonus if you win again situation. It doesn't help you win.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem Phoenix have.
Yep. All right.
I actually like this card. Because it does two things. One of them is it allows you to go, if you're going first, their second challenge is, right, well, you're getting the wrong ring for that challenge. And that's actually pretty good in some cases. And the second thing it allows you to do is resolve the same ring twice in one phase. And that's also pretty good. I actually wonder, despite the fact that this one has 3 influence, if this one would see some more value in a more aggressive clan. Where if someone was hammering you for Void, and they go, okay, cool, Void first challenge or Crane or something, and you go back with something else, and they go, all right, now I attack, I go for air or whatever, cool, swap Void for air, now I do Void again. And that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So I can see plays with this card. I definitely see that it's a bit funky, but I see uses for it. And I think as we go along, we might start to figure out, actually, yeah, sometimes double firing somebody or double airing somebody or whatever is pretty ridiculous. So we'll see.
I look at this kind of a card and I think to myself, okay, double Earth, getting cards out of people's hands can be crippling. Getting cards into your hand is amazing. And being able to do that, forcing them to lose honor on the draw, and then also having manipulation power over the Ring of Fire as well, to potentially give them even more honor losses. This could be a really good card. It could be at some point.
Yeah, and absolutely. But I think for now, the Phoenix have so so many difficulties actually winning conflicts in the first place.
Okay.
That stuff like this is, it's really putting the cart before the horse where Phoenix is concerned.
Fair enough. Let's
sadly.
keep moving on.
But as I said,
Go on.
time it could be great.
All right.
Not just in time, it could be great. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So just to go back on that one, I didn't realize. So if you can switch with, no, it's claimed ring pool with an uncontested ring. So can you do something with a conflict, one that's being contested at the moment?
It's with an unclaimed ring, so it doesn't say anything about contested.
No, but contested. Yeah, but a contested is a different state. Like a contested ring is not an unclaimed ring; it's a contested ring.
Yeah.
So why does it say retain the ring's conflict type?
Because
it stays military or political.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So there's nothing relevant for it yet, but there might eventually be. Okay.
Potentially.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Moving on. So we've got another event here. 0 cost, Supernatural Storm. So it's a spell water. Action, choose a participating character. That character gets +X military and +X political until the end of the conflict. X is equal to the number of Shigenja characters you control. Strong opinions. Eoin, give us your best on this card.
It's a free pump. It's a free pump and it's a free pump for military and politics. So always some value to be had there. I reckon it probably tops out at probably +2/+2 most of the time, but it might hit +3/+3. And the thing is that, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not a huge amount of political pumps, and it's got the military. It does both, basically, and that's not the worst. It's free, and, it's cheap influence to splash, but I'd say only ever Phoenix will play it until the card pool matures a fair amount. But, it's a free pump.
Justin?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a free pump. I'd expect it to be in the range. It'll be +1/+1, +2/+2 most of the time. Probably +2/+2. It's fine. Like it's not going to. It doesn't blow me away, but it is another pump, and anything that helps Phoenix win conflicts and big provinces is a really big deal right now. So thumbs up for the time being, anyway.
Yeah. And I guess Baz, you're going to say it's a free pump, right?
No, I'm not. But I am going to say that you can. It's military or political. It's attack or defense. There's definitely an argument, and I know Justin mentioned this to me earlier, of building a pump deck. Like just drop every boost that you can in there, and the Phoenix are flexible enough that you should be able to win military and you should be able to win conflict or political. And that's going to threaten a lot, because if they're drawing cards and they've got 4 cards in hand, you're looking at that and you're thinking, well, those are probably all +2s in something. God, what do I do? That's an extra 8 that could just drop on the table and swing things.
Yeah. So when we get to our summary of the Phoenix, I'll go into how I was completely wrong about the direction I think that Phoenix that Phoenix should be built in, or that the Phoenix clan has gone in. I thought they were going to be like a dishonor. I thought they were going to be like a really passive honor dishonor control deck, and I actually think they're best built as a military blitz deck. I think it's essential. It's essential to build as a military.
I'm looking at the card base as I've seen it so far, and with things like Bonsai, things like this, the 0 cost like Ornate Fans, things like that, you're looking at very cheap, very ready sources of pump, and it's kind of scary actually. All right, moving on. We've got a 1 cost attachment. It's Grasp of Earth. So it's a +1 military, +1 political, spell Earth, attached to a Shigenja character you control. Action, during a conflict, bow this attachment. Opponents' characters cannot move to this conflict or be played from hand until the end of the conflict. So
I think this will get much, much better when Unicorn are previewed.
Yeah. It seems to me like a meta card. If you come across something that's maybe Lion, who like to buy personalities or like bring characters into the fight somehow. If you're looking at something like, I don't know, something that maybe if Unicorn are a very heavily movement oriented clan, Yeah, it seems like a meta action to me, or meta attachment.
We've seen some movement actions on the unicorn already, so it's almost a certainty.
Yeah. And I mean, in fairness, like in defense of this card, it is a +1/+1 boost for 1 fate, which is pretty consistent. Like all the clans tend to have something, in this range, and the ability can be really, really powerful. There are a couple of clans, like the Crab have a huge number of conflict characters, all of which can be highly impactful. And the Crab also looked like one of the best clans in the game. It's reasonable to say that the Unicorn are going to have a lot of movement and potentially a lot of conflict characters as well, just to simulate their cavalry and just showing up wherever they want to, whenever they want to. So while this card is not super impressive right now, it's a little bit of a sneak card for me. I think this card could quite sneakily prove itself to be very, very good once the game starts to develop a bit.
Cool.
But at the moment, it's not overwhelming.
Going to keep it rolling. We're going to look at pacifism, the next attachment in the list. So it's a 2-cost attachment, +0/+0. Condition. I don't know what condition means. There you go. This attachment cannot be played during the conflict. Why do they put the condition there and where the...
No. Condition is just like sick, sleepy, drowsy, pacifist.
Yeah, it's just a keyword. So it's
okay.
It's a condition keyword.
Okay, and then they actually put a condition underneath it, an attachment condition.
Yeah, but the person this is attached to falls into the condition of not wanting to fight anymore.
I see. Attached character cannot participate in military conflicts. Okay, guys, what do you think?
This is a blitz. This is a card. This is a blitz card.
Yeah. It's a defense.
This is a card that stops people.
Yeah.
This is exactly what it is. Yeah, this is a card that stops people defending on your second attack when your second attack is military. It's really expensive and it has other conditional uses. It's really expensive though. I'm not a big fan of this card quite yet, but it might be okay. I don't know. I think it's too expensive. At 1, I think it will be broken. At 2, I think it's too much. So
1.5.
They made the right.
You said a good middle ground.
They made the right choice.
Go on, Barry.
I have played this on Casada in 2 separate games, and it was fantastic. That said, 2 political Casada did kick my ass, so it didn't completely cut him out. But I think if it hadn't been Casada, it wouldn't have been as much. Really, I think you want to drop this on a zip political character. If you can drop that there, that's exactly what you're looking for. At the same time, I think a lot of those zip characters are only 1 or 2 cost themselves. So is it worth spending 2 fates to take out a 1-cost berserker? No, almost certainly not. And yeah, that's really the dilemma with this. But as an offensive card, it'll see some play, especially when you're going in for that military conflict against your opponent's last stronghold. That could be pretty epic.
I'm going to put my money on the table and say this is one of the best cards I've seen. I just think
you can't get away from it, Andy.
No,
you can't get away. Oh my God, it's like actual removal. It's like a naval range attack. I've taken out your defenders before they even defended.
You know me, I just want to play a game where it ends immediately. I don't have to do anything. And I feel like I had complete control and dominance from turn 1, and this is a card that allows that to happen. It's a shutdown card, and until we get something in the environment that removes the ability to, or that removes attachments, I think this card is really good.
The Dragon Clan have you covered. It's called Let Go, and it costs 0 fate and destroys an attachment. That's another reason that pacifism is not all that good.
Yeah.
But that's a card that no one is going to splash. I would splash the shit out of this card.
Dragon is a popular one for splashing under the current expectation, and I think a lot of people are going to go 2 Let Go and 3 Murmurous Fury.
Yeah, that's what I'd go. That's what I'd play.
Yeah.
Or 3/2, depending.
Yeah, they're all
3 of 1 and 2 of these.
So my opinion is
stupendous cards.
Once again, Thanks,
but
John,
if you find an opponent, if you find a non-dragon opponent that isn't splashing dragon, you are in like Flynn.
See, Andy, you're actually about 2 weeks ahead in the metagame. We haven't caught up with you yet. That's what's happening here.
I think I'm about 2 weeks behind. Maybe more than 2 weeks behind in the metagame. But when was Dragon spoiled? Like a month ago. So yeah, I think my wealth of play experience and my wealth of exposure to new L5R is really shining through at this point. Owen, do you have an opinion on this card? Just to maybe you tip the scales a little bit more in my favor here.
I've seen it splashed a lot actually in some of the more aggressive military-focused clans as basically preventative measure. I think it's really expensive for that, but it is quite good. If you hit the right guy with this, it's like if you run into, say, somebody expensive who's had a Sashimono put on them, and then you add this to the mix, that person's super sad. Yeah. So it's a punishment in some ways for someone going all in an expensive character. And that's not the worst thing in the world, but it's really expensive at 2. It's really, really expensive at 2. So, yeah.
Yeah, but completely broken at 1. So
busted at 1. It's like one of these cards where you're like, if this costs 1.5, I'd be all over it. But yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I won't. I was going to say something I probably would regret on stream, but let's not do that. Let's just go to the next card. I've said enough things I'll possibly regret on this cast, so let's just keep moving.
The night's still young, Andy.
I know. Magnificent Kimono. So 0 cost attachments +0 military strength +1 political item. Attached character gains pride, which is after this character wins a conflict, honor it. After they lose a conflict, dishonor it. So, guys, any Baz, let's take you first.
So it's free, and it gives you +1 politics, and if you play it at the right time, it honors one of your characters. And getting your characters honored is one of the basic setups for Phoenix. Now, again, the problem is you have to win to get the honor. So that's a dilemma. I think I'll pass it over to Justin to explain the other bullshit part of it.
Oh yeah, well the bullshit part of it is if one of your opponents is in a conflict against you and they are about to lose that conflict, you can attach a magnificent kimono to one of their personalities to dishonor that personality. So there are some minor shenanigans with this, but the tragedy is that this card is vastly better in every other clan. I think this is probably at its absolute worst in Phoenix.
And only 1 influence, so it splashes quite nicely. Thank you very much. Oh yeah,
so it splashes beautifully.
Along with Against the Waves, and there's a bunch of others. There's a lot of ones actually for Phoenix.
Yeah. But that said, within Phoenix, it is a 0 cost pump again, which is absolutely enormous. And there are so many provinces that are 3 and 4 strength that +1 is really relevant a lot of the times. And if this is on a Shigenja, for example, you can, if you're fortunate enough as a Phoenix player to win your first conflict of the turn, you can attach this, honor that Shigenja, against the waves that Shigenja, and then all of a sudden you have a potential beat stick ready for the second conflict that they can launch themselves into. So, it has uses, but it's another setup card for Phoenix, pretty much mitigated a little bit by the +1 politics. But that said, I think this card is going to see a lot. I mean, it's going to see play automatically in Phoenix, and I think it will see a lot of play in clans who are splashing Phoenix. So I think that has to make it a really good card. I think, by default.
All right.
It's like the test. Will other clans play it? If so,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, this will be everywhere. Any aggressive like Crane will be all over this.
It's really good on the storyteller. Storyteller, yeah. Honor the storyteller. Oh, I get to honor somebody else. You just need to find ways to dishonor the storyteller so you can do it again next turn.
All right, gonna move on. Sorry, Owen. We'll get your opinion on this one then.
Yeah,
this is Kuroi Mori. I think this is the 4 province strength province action during a conflict at this province. Justin's already salivating. During a conflict at this province, select one, switch the contested ring with an unclaimed ring. conflict retains its type, or switch the conflict type. The conflict remains its element. Eoin, what do you think?
This is the rage maker. This is absolutely the card that people will start complaining about. Should be a reveal effect, or should be something else after playing against it for a little while. It is just a pain. The real question is, where does it go? Does this go onto your stronghold? Seems really the place to be, because that's where it's gonna. You're just gonna be hitting the wrong ring or the wrong conflict type for the rest of the game,
or going in at half strength all the time, just to try to even it out.
So I think it's kind of hilarious for that reason. Very, very good. It's a void province, which we know competes with Pilgrimage at the moment, and we're not sure what the other void provinces yet. So I think Phoenix are going to be very, very, very happy to play this. We think it might be Shameful Display, yeah.
I would have thought Shameful Display would be an air province.
Someone did the numbers on it, and I think we did get that confirmed.
That's one of the theories. Well,
it was based on one of the demo decks that were revealed, and they had full spreads. So it's all theories, but
but it doesn't matter because you're playing this.
Yeah. I don't see.
I mean,
any
this is
a
metagame defining card.
Yeah.
So I think sticking on your stronghold means while you might have trouble winning as Phoenix, you're not going to lose. That it really makes that last one a crunch. That said, some people have been experimenting with dropping it in one of the normal provinces, not in a stronghold province. The argument is that you get to meddle with rings a little bit more, and meddling with rings and what's being declared and what's active and what isn't is a big part of the Phoenix abilities. So when they walk into something, you can trigger it over to whatever ring you need your Shigenja to have. I'm not sure I'm convinced yet, but I think it's something that people will be testing. And as the Phoenix become more aggressive and rely less on that last stronghold province, it might become more prevalent.
I think for me, the last 5 words that aren't in brackets are the important thing on this card. Switch the conflict type, or switch the conflict type. It's the only reason you play this card. The ring contesting or ring things, I mean, you do that so many other avenues anyway. It's irrelevant. If you put this on one of your normal provinces, you will get to activate it once, and they will never attack this province ever again.
True.
And if this is on your stronghold, you are giving yourself you're possibly buying yourself another turn, which is enormous in this game.
I think there's a strong argument for a stronghold. I think the hope of people who are putting it in one of the other provinces is that by having such an influential shift at an earlier point in the game, they won't get to that point where they need to have something good underneath the stronghold. But hey, it's an argument. Personally, I'll be sticking this under the stronghold every time.
Yeah. And it's just, I think regardless, this will almost certainly buy you a turn every time it shows up.
Now there are certain clans that's not going to work against.
Okay.
Phoenix on Phoenix, Phoenix on Dragon, possibly Phoenix on Crane. We'll have to see what else there is. Crane just seemed to have a decent amount of military somehow. I'm not sure where they get it from. But yeah, 99% of the time, this is gonna not lose you games.
We all like this card. I think we all have a soft spot for this one.
I mean, the thing is, against certain clans, you are going to put this on your stronghold. I mean, against Lion, you're just going to put it on your stronghold and dare them to beat you politically at your stronghold. Against certain other clans, against really balanced clans or much more balanced clans like Crane, for example, maybe do put it into one of your provinces in an attempt to swing the tempo of the game a little bit earlier, and you just put something else under your stronghold, whatever it is. But you know, the fact is that every single clan has to take this into account. You know, if you bumped into Phoenix, the chances are that you will have to face this down, and your deck has to be able to work around it. Yeah. So it's one of the most important cards in the game for encouraging decks to take a balanced approach. and not to completely go all in on military or politics.
I don't know. I mean, that's if Phoenix ever make it past a cut, as long as you can dodge them in the Swiss.
No, hey, absolutely. Completely. Absolutely. But it's still kind of important. I mean, you can see there are a couple of cards like this that they've built into the game that just say, right, this is an aspect of the game that needs to be balanced. Or that could spin wildly out of control. So they've already built in some control mechanisms to make sure it doesn't spin off the rails. That there are
definitely metagame defining. Yeah,
yeah, I think so.
Right. Moving on, since we're pretty firm on that one, to the first character card that we're seeing for the Phoenix tonight.
This is a long stream, isn't it?
This is gonna be fairly long. I think we've got about. Okay, we're gonna have to speed it up. There's about 10 cards left to go. So I'm gonna ask for one opinion.
It's fine. Cola has to edit it all afterwards. That's how it works, right?
I guess so. But we have to actually do this. It's gonna take like another hour at least to get through the rest of these. Okay. Shiba Yojimbo, 3 cost for a 3 military, 2 political. Bushi Yojimbo with 2 glory. Interrupt when the effects of a triggered ability that targets a Shigenja you control would initiate. Cancel those effects. Justin.
Yeah, super good. You're going to play this card. One of the things about the Phoenix is they are super, super vulnerable to assassinate because so many of their good characters, or at least their good Shigenja, are cheap. And Phoenix have to have board. They have to have. I mean, as I said, they suffer from inconsistency anyway. So maintaining a board and keeping it together is really, really important. It's because this ability doesn't require bowing, so the Yojimbo can use her ability while she's bowed, and she can use it while she's out of a conflict because it doesn't require participation.
Yeah, it's like you're stabbing the Shigenja. And all of a sudden, this is like from nowhere.
Out of nowhere, yeah. Stop that, yeah. Careful now. So she'll when she's on the board, she'll stop people targeting your Shigenja. So she is, if you've got her on the board for a couple of turns, you can, Voltron a Shigenja up into some monstrous behemoth and just send it rampaging across the board, safe in the knowledge that the 1 or 2 actions your opponent might have to deal with that Shigenja will be taken care of. So super good. I mean, I think just an automatic include at the start.
And non-unique as well.
Yep.
Which is super nice. Okay, any retort on that one? Anybody have a conflict of opinion there? All right, we'll move on. We'll stop for the conflicts. I think if we all agree that something's good, we're gonna move on. The Solemn Scholar is the next one. So a 1 fate character for a 1/1 with 1 glory. Shigenja Earth Scholar. Action during a conflict. If the Earth ring is in your claimed ring pool, choose an attacking character. Bow that character. Barry.
The ability is bananas if you can get it to work. So she's cheap, which means you can get her out with 1 cost ones. You have a tendency just to kind of play them and leave them at that without sticking fate because the investment isn't always worth it. This one you might no, you probably still wouldn't consider it. But once you get 1 or 2 out, Earth becomes a hell of a lot more attractive, which wasn't always an option before. But if you walk over with everything and take that province and bow out, trigger Earth, they're down a card, you're up a card. This is straight sent home. It's fantastic.
Bow. Straight bow. Yeah.
Denial.
Yeah. Denial.
Stops that attack.
Yeah.
And again, doesn't require bowing, so the Solemn Scholar can use it while outside of conflict and bowed. So it really encourages an opponent. Yeah, really encourages an opponent to get Earth before you get Earth.
Yeah. All right, Shiba.
So,
go on.
Solemn Scholar, super good.
Super good. All right. Shiba Peacemaker is the next one, and he looks like a beatstick. So 1 fate for a 4 military, 1 political. Bushi with 1 glory. This character. All right. This character cannot participate in conflicts as an attacker. Eoin, what do you make of this one?
I compare him a bit like to the Harumi Yojimbo, who's a 2 cost 4/2 who cannot be assigned to conflicts as an attacker. Which is slightly different because the Yojimbo can be moved in, whereas this guy I don't think can be. So he is good value at 1 cost, and he's a good defender. I don't know how much defending Phoenix are going to want to do, but he's really good at it. You know?
Do you guys see use for this character? Any of the other two, Justin, Baz?
I like him.
mean,
Defending
you
is
can cloud them.
much better. Defending is much better than I thought it was. I actually wouldn't bother clouding the mind this guy because
No, I mean it's a situational play.
well, it's 2 cost for 4/1, I guess. But
yeah, if it's going to get you a province and a ring, you're absolutely going to do it.
yeah, that's true. That's true. But a lot of the time, just sticking 4 military on the defense gets stuff done. It really makes it hard for your opponent to do things. I mean, obviously, not defending so you can trigger your display of power is always tempting, but it is incredibly efficient, and having characters to defend is actually a lot more important than I initially thought.
Yeah, I think he's actually quite good. Just the 1 cost, you pay your 1, you put him on the board, and he interferes with your opponent's military plans for the rest of the turn. Yep. Unless they're Lion, in which case they just look at him and laugh, but that's okay. You probably don't buy him against Lion.
Fair enough. Okay.
Maybe you do. Who knows?
Moving on, Serene Warrior. 3 Fate for a 3/2 with 4 Glory and Bushi, and that's it. So
4 Glory.
Blank 3/2 with
4 Glory. I think he's incredible.
Just amazing, right?
I think he's arguably the best of the Phoenix non-uniques.
He's essentially a 7/6 for 3.
If you honor him, he's a 7. If you honor him, he's a 7/6.
Then you trigger strongholds.
Then he's a 9/8.
Yeah, so he's just a monster of a character.
Yeah.
Court games.
I mean, he's
Court games, Ring of Fire that you're going to claim super easy because you just can.
Yeah. Everything we've been talking about, he is the guy you want to do it to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
He's just amazing.
Clear cut. All right, 2 cost Seeker of Knowledge. So it's 2 Fate for a 0/2 with 1 Glory. Courtier, Shigenja, Air. While this character is attacking, the contested ring gains the, I assume that's Air element. It's very
Air element, yeah.
If this character wins the conflict as an attacker, you may choose which of its ring effects to resolve. So if you win, so you change the contested ring gains.
No, you add air to the current ring. So if you declare Earth and then she comes into play, it's now both an Earth and Air ring, and you can decide to resolve either Earth or Air. If she's present when you win. Yeah,
and it's attacking. You'll still claim the other ring, but you can trigger the Air ring instead.
Yeah, you can trigger the Air ring.
Okay, you trigger Air, but Air can trigger again, right? You can trigger an additional time if you claim the Air ring.
Yeah, so the Air ring will still be...
No, so if you've already claimed Air, you can use Secret Knowledge to claim again. You can't double up in one conflict. Sorry, trigger. Yes.
You're not claiming the ring, but you're just triggering the Air effect, which is gain 1 or steal 1 from your opponent.
So we've seen the Secret Knowledge for a while, and she isn't one of the ones that recently came out, and she was quite popular in some of the decks that were trying to honor on, because it's a 1 influence conflict character. So you're just able to drop this down on your second attack. The traits, Courtier and Shigenja, give you a lot of kind of trigger options. And 2 politics for 2 costs, it's decent. I imagine this will be quite a popular card. It's kind of considered part of the suite for the kind of honoring options you get out of Phoenix. There's a lot of good cards you can get that'll help you honor.
Cool. Does she combo with Fearsome Mystic?
Yes. If she's she does, because she does combo with Fearsome Mystic on the attack at least.
All right, let's take a look then at Fearsome Mystic. So Fearsome Mystic is a 4 cost, 2/4, Shigenja Air with 1 Glory. This character gets +2 Glory during air conflicts. So while this character is participating in a conflict, remove 1 fate from each participating character your opponents controls with lower Glory than this character. That is bloody terrifying.
Yeah, but suffers from the perennial Phoenix problem of not doing enough to win conflicts.
Yeah.
It's just another setup card. I don't like this card. As much as I want to love this card, I just don't, because 2/4/4 is terrible stat wise. Your opponent can play around her. She's really good on the defense, or she's better on the defense, maybe. But then, the maximum I suppose with the stronghold, then you can remove fate from.
Five glory or something.
Yeah.
Even 3 glory is enough to strip most guys.
Yeah, to strip most guys. Like, she's really good.
3 glory is enough to go, well, base your entire board. I'm just going to... Anyone who's in this... Like, if you're lying, you go with 3 guys with a fade on them. You're not going to make that play against her. She's on the board. It's like, you are going to modify how you play. So that's what to be said for her. I think she's scarier on paper than she will be in play, but I think she prevents you from certain all-in plays if you're trying to build your board.
Yeah.
You kind of imagine 5 opponents all with 1 fate, and you're cackling maniacally because you paid 4 and stripped 5. The reality is they're going to have 1 character that's got 2 fate on it, and the rest of they're going to split their attack, and there's a bunch of it never works out really in your advantage. I don't think the stats are terrible. The 4-cost characters seem to normally be more around this kind of area. She is a Shigenja, which is a good trait, but yeah, I don't think the ability does enough for the turn. Again, it's another case of the Phoenix trying to set up for the next turn so they can try more setup, so they can try more setup, so they can defend their last province, so they can lose.
Oh, controversial.
Yeah, that's kind of how I look at her as well. It's a setup card that just doesn't do enough for you on board for the 4 cost. So, given all the other penalties that you're kind of playing with as a Phoenix, she just adds to that. So I'm not a huge fan.
All right. So we've seen Seeker of Knowledge. Let's look at Radiant Orator. So 3 cost.
Amazing.
2 glory courtier. Action while this character is participating in a conflict. If you count more current glory than your opponent among ready participating characters, choose an enemy character and move that character home. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's an almost guaranteed effect in Phoenix. Stop the presses. She's amazing. She's really, really strong. I mean, she's so good. She's so good.
Solid stat line, good glory, fair cost, great action. Yeah.
Stat line might be a little bit poor for 3.
Stat line is weak.
But the thing is, she's essentially 4 glory if you want her to be, and then it's just she's gonna be removing a character for 3 cost. It's pretty flexible. I really like her.
Yeah, I've talked about it before. The team and cards are either move them back unbowed or bow them. So when you move a character back, they're going to be ready for the next conflict.
True.
At the same time, there's a lot of cards that require to be participating, and getting rid of those problems is really, really good. So yeah, I think she's tremendous.
Yeah, she really is.
But she's a courtier, not a Shigenja.
I know, this is just introducing more variants into Phoenix.
Yep. Hooray!
But early days. But anyway, she's very, very good for this game.
Ishikan Initiate. So it's 2 fate for a 1/1, 0 glory, Shigenja Void. This character gets +1 military and +1 political for each claimed ring. Owen, do you have an opinion?
Importantly, a conflict character. So kinda an out of nowhere effect and stronger towards the end of the turn. So when the last conflict could come down, could be a 4/4 in ideal circumstances, which is reasonably strong. It's basically more Phoenix stuff where out of hand stuff shows up and swings the battle. So this is another pump card effectively, because she just comes down and is chunky. So you have to respect that at least a little bit. Not amazing, but basically more kind of another kind of cheap pump out of hand.
Any other opinion, guys?
No, that's it.
Another Shigenja, so you can add to your Supernatural Storm. I'm disappointed. I think it's thematic that she has 0 glory because she's a Void Shigenja. But given the amount of effects that we're looking at in Phoenix, I kind of wish she had at least 1, maybe 2 glory just for something.
Yeah, she's fine. As exactly as Owen says, she's like a last-ditch force pump. The 2 cost is very, very high for what you're getting for the most part, but she could swing a battle. So,
all right, moving on to Asawa Masahiro. So he's unique, and he's a 3 fate cost, 3/2, 2 glory, Shigenja fire. Action during a fire conflict, bow this character. Choose a participating character with printed cost 2 or lower and discard that character. Who wants to take this one? Let's go with you, Baz.
I really wish he didn't bow. So there's a it has to be a fire conflict. He can take it from outside the conflict, which is great. But having to bow, though, you're paying 3 for what essentially is assassinate effect. Yeah. It's tricky to play. He's costly. There's a lot of conditions involved. It does encourage your opponent not to declare fire, which is kind of good, because you don't want to get any of your characters dishonored. You definitely want to keep that for yourself so you can honor up. But I can see what Justin is saying.
He's yet more encouragement never to put anything into a 2-cost character, which we've just seen revealed in the card Assassination.
Yeah.
You just can't trust those cheap guys.
I think he's a lot better now against the waves has come in, but that's a blanket statement for every Shigenja ever, except for Yukun.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And I mean, I suppose if you look at him as a blank 3/2 for 3 that occasionally has something that maybe might do something sometime, I don't know.
He fills the
He's
slot, right?
Terry. Well, rather regrettably, he does fill the slot.
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
terrible.
Until something
I
better
think
comes along.
I think he's unplayably bad.
So here's a possible something better. Aisawa Atsuko.
Yeah.
4 cost for 3/3 with 2 glory. Shigenja Void. Action during a Void conflict. Until the end of the conflict, each participating character you control gets +1 military and +1 political, and each participating character your opponent controls gets -1 military and -1 political.
Amazeballs!
Justin, yeah. I'm reading this card and I'm
she's-
just thinking to myself, this is. So sorry about that, everybody. This is going to be a somewhat interrupted stream, but we're back, thankfully. I'm just going to take 2 seconds to try and get the card previews back up online. I think we were somewhere around where were we? Asawa Atsuko. So let's just get her up there. All right, and we're rolling again. Whew. All right.
Atsuko, amazing.
Atsuko, amazing. Any other opinions other than this character is amazeballs?
No, she's...
I do think 4 cost is rough. I don't like the 4 cost characters just generally on principle. It really sucks up your resources.
I'm a much bigger fan of the unique guys, because if you flip 2 unique 4 cost guys, you're actually feeling really happy with yourself. And if you flip up 2 non-unique 4 cost guys, you're feeling crap. And Atsuko's ability is so good. She is an absolute bucket of force. She's supreme. And the other thing about her ability is that it affects the conflict, even if she's not there. So if her ability goes off and she gets sent home, like all your guys there still get +1/+1. All your opponent's personalities still, or characters still get -1/-1. She really can. And the thing is, with Atsuko, and if you've got Kuro and Mori on your stronghold, maybe you don't actually switch the conflict type. Maybe you switch the ring type. And all of a sudden, in a conflict where you've both got 5 or 6 guys on each side, she just goes, well, there's a 12-4 swing.
Yeah. Or you attack with her for the Void Ring, you win it because they're not stupid enough to defend. Then you switch Know the World and attack again. She's bowed, but you can still use your ability if they defend.
Yeah.
Just
delicious.
An amazing card.
She is amazing. She's absolutely brilliant. So I'm a big fan of Atsuko.
Here's the Mystic we've seen. Asako Diplomat we haven't seen yet. So 2 cost for a 1/2 with 1 glory courtier. Reaction after this character wins a conflict, choose a character, honor or dishonor that character.
There is a definite argument to mulligan to get your Asako Diplomat. The fact that it is easy, well, maybe not easy, you got to win a conflict, but Every time she wins a conflict, she's honoring someone, and that just powers the whole Phoenix honor engine or glory engine.
The only way she could be more perfect would be if she was a Shigenja.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. She's the best. She's the best Phoenix character, I think.
Oh wow. Okay, that's
Strong words.
glowing praise.
Strong words, but for a 2-cost character, she enables your stronghold completely. If you get a first turn of Asako Diplomat plus Serene Warrior, your opponent has got to be bricking themselves, because if she breaks through and wins a conflict, the game is probably over.
Yeah.
Turn 1. So, obviously that's like the super high roll situation, which is never going to happen. But
that's still that's a 4 military, 4 political attack that you have to beat, and if you don't beat it, it's going to turn into a 12 the next turn. Yeah. Yeah,
or the Asako Diplomat goes in on her own on a political, wins it somehow. I know, ballsy, right? Yeah, absolutely ballsy. But no, she is the chief actuator of what Phoenix is trying to do.
So again, I think
the glue.
Yeah, I think, but I don't think she is the engine. I think if we get on to Adept of the Waves,
he is almost, he's super good. He is super good, but Asako Diplomat is an all-star. He's an absolute all-star for the Phoenix.
Let's read out Adept of the Waves just to give the listeners some context. 2 cost, 2/2, 2 glory, so all 2s across the board. Shigenja Water. Action, choose a character until the end of the phase. That character gains covert during water conflicts. That's really strong. I feel like that's super, super strong.
He's my favorite Phoenix because, just on his own, he's a 2-cost 2/2. That's actually really good stats.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the 2-cost guys are 2/1 or 1/2, but this guy's a 2/2. And he's got 2 glory as well, so he can go in. He can use his ability on himself. You can go, if you're going first, you can go Adept of the Waves, use his ability on himself, first conflict, water. Because I have covert, I can covert your guy with no fade on him, so I definitely have a target for water.
Mm-hmm.
I go in, and whether I go in military or politics depends on what I have in hand. If I've got a bonsai in hand, I go military. If I've got a court games in hand, I go politics.
Yeah.
And
so
then
you're taking provinces.
You're very good chance of cracking the province. And your opponent is then faced with, do I defend against this? Basically, or do I just go, Yeah, because he asks really tough questions to your opponent immediately.
And gives no information.
Give very little information, and he is able to go in immediately, and that threatens a province, so you got to respect that at least a little bit.
I think I would agree with Eoin here that this is probably the best character I've seen for Phoenix. The fact that he's Shigenja, the parity across the board in his stats, the flexibility that he gives, really, really nice ability with covert and water battles. Really, really good for me. I really like this one. He'll be a staple for a long time, I would say. Yeah.
We've been talking about how the Phoenix really need to get rolling. The Adept of the Waves and Asawa Atsuko are good ways to get rolling. They are cards that will affect the
Asako?
Sorry, Asawa Atsuko.
Oh, you're Atsuko? Oh, okay.
But point being that they're both characters who have an active effect on the conflicts that are going to happen in this turn that don't require any setup. Now, you are right that they're 2 different conflicts, so you're not going to be able to combo them together. But the point is, once you get those out, you'll be able to start the ball rolling. And when the Phoenix do start capturing rings and all of a sudden are able to start playing around, and when they start honoring guys up, that could get really scary, because they do feel like a giant boulder that's just on the precipice, and if you can get that moving, it's going to wreak some destruction.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
Do we want to wrap up? I think it's about time we wrap things up. So let's have a little bit of a conclusion on the Phoenix overall. So Justin, you mentioned earlier that Phoenix took a completely different turn from what you would have envisioned as the design for Phoenix originally. Walk us through a little bit about what you thought and what you thought might happen.
Yeah, so from the early cards we'd seen previewed, those being the Display of Power, the Know the World, the forgotten her name, Seeker of Knowledge. I was expecting a really passive honor dishonor deck. I thought it would be they'd take the idea of Phoenix pacifism and they'd create really interested in breaking this, but they'd spend most of the game manipulating rings, gaining honor, making opponents lose honor, controlling conflict, and so you basically a deck that won through passive means. Having seen the cards, I think the way that Phoenix need to be built is as I was saying before, as a blitz military deck, or as a blitz attacking deck. I don't think their ring manipulation doesn't have the consistency you need for a defensive play style. So they absolutely have to take the initiative and try to snowball the game as early as possible, which they're fully capable of doing. Because they have such high glory values across the board, if they start honoring people, and that creates even bigger force skill totals on the table, which allow them to dominate the ring phase, or basically dominate the ring game even more. And so because of that, I think they have built as a blitz attacking deck, and they have a number of force pumps. Like we've got the All-Stars are of Banzai and Court Games, and Court Games, as Owen said earlier, is better for Phoenix than any other clan, because once you honor your personality, you can immediately use the Stronghold to pump them an additional 2 you want. They've got the Storm as an additional force pump. They've got a free 1 political force pump with the Kimono, which also honors them, which sets them up for the next turn to be even bigger. So so you need to come out of the gate really pretty hard and pretty fast. And like as Owen said, the Adept of the Waves is a massive card. I don't think the Adept of the Waves is necessary. Like I still maintain that the Asako Courtier is an actual engine for the Phoenix, because she enables your Stronghold, takes she basically, as I said, she turns your high glory into an actual concrete value on the table that affects the game. The Adept of Water, however, is the other absolute all-star for the Phoenix, and so you just really want to be setting up as fast as you possibly can to get across the board, take provinces, win rings, pump your guys up, and snowball your board position into a situation where the limited number of ring manipulation cards you do play have a disproportionate effect the board game, or on the game state. And this is another reason why I think Display of Power is so important for the Phoenix, because it means you can turn all your it basically means you can dedicate your entire turn toward attacking, and you use Display of Power as a key defensive measure. So again, going back to what we were saying earlier. So if you, for example, get Void, so you give a Void on one of your guys, you take a Void off one of his guys, but that player has also committed at least 1 or 2 characters to an attack on that province to take it. So for a negative, for the cost of a card and 1 fate, you have bowed out 2 of their characters, and it's a fate neutral card. And that's actually in the context of how important and snowbally the early turns of L5R can be. That's a huge blowout. So this is actually how I, at the moment anyway, I envision Phoenix playing highly aggressive in taking provinces and relying on things like Display of Power to stymie an opponent's advances. And the thing is, if you get into a province trading game, you've got Kuroi Mori on your Stronghold, so you're probably okay for buying a turn. So you can aggressively trade provinces, safe in the knowledge that you have an advantage going into the final critical turns. So that seems to be how they play. Certainly for me, but that said, I've always been a military player. That's the style that I really like playing. So there could actually be an honor deck there that's very, very good. but I'm just not looking for it. I'm just not really not interested actually in playing that kind of deck. Although that said, the tensest and most enjoyable game I've played so far was Honor Running with the Crane. Honor Running is incredibly hard.
Well, you might actually already be playing that deck with what you've described, because as long as you're honoring all your characters as fast as you can to get as much out of them, they're the primary way a lot of the clans actually get honor these days. You have your Secret Knowledge, which at 2 costs of the 2 political force pump is actually decent and lets you trigger air again. And Display Power can get you air. The only difference really with this aggressive attacking deck is, whether it's honor or not, is the number of cards you draw. If you stick out 1, you are actually a fully up honoring deck. If you're drawing 5 and dropping a bunch of assassinates to make things a little bit easier for yourself, you're going a different direction, and you can play that exact same deck and just make the choice. I think we're back to that classic Phoenix toolbox, which always has been a lot of fun. And actually
we could very well be.
I'm looking at that Adept of the Waves, and I'm thinking of the Tattooed Wanderer from the Dragon deck. So you can stick another 3 conflict cards that'll add Covert, which some assassinates, Adept of the Waves, Coverts,
and
pacifisms.
You're looking
That's
at
a lot of denial.
hard lockdown, yeah.
A deck that can never defend against you. So
one thing that strikes me is that Phoenix look, to me at least, to be one of the most complicated clans to build and play. I mean, for all of the cards that we've seen tonight, I feel like a lot of them have what I would consider like high skill cap decision making restrictions to them. If you're going to play the cards, you're going to have to have a grander strategy in mind, know the ebb and flow of the game very intimately, and be able to manipulate your opponents and manipulate their actions into doing something that, not something that has a direct effect, but something that has a very indirect effect, and something that's going to very much influence how the game is going to go on 1 turn from now, or maybe 2 turns from now, which is a super complicated way to play the game in a game that's already very, very difficult, I think, to play and to manage in the first place. Do you think that this is going to be there is going to be any version of Phoenix that is a beginner friendly for the newer players that come to L5R?
As it stands, not really. I mean, it's hard to judge. It's hard to judge. I mean, like most of the clans so far, like Crab are another clan that doesn't look entirely beginner friendly, because they have a lot of synergies and a lot of interactions that aren't necessarily immediately obvious, but certainly of the clans we've seen so far, I think Phoenix have the highest potential for screwing things up and losing the game on 1 decision, I think like a number of those decisions, especially when it comes to things like Way of the Phoenix or Display of Power, aren't necessarily immediately obvious either. So I do think they have a higher skill cap, or they appear to anyway.
So I can definitely see that. I think, however, that Phoenix poses a problem for the opponents as well, because of the amount of card effects that trigger off different rings. It changes the balance of what ring to pick in any given scenario, because of effects like Display of Power. Even the choice you make, maybe you should be picking your second best ring, because when it goes against you, it's not going to be as bad. Just being aware of the options and cards, especially in the course set environment, not where you've just got 1 course set, but just early in the game. I think that's kind of, for me, that's generally been that sweet spot, because everyone should know all of the other options and all of the other cards. And I think for Phoenix, it's not just a complex play situation for the Phoenix. I think they actually spread that out into the game, and the game becomes a lot more complex overall. So a line player going into Phoenix is going to have to be aware of what's going on, and it's going to have to make a lot more difficult decisions than normally they would have.
Very true.
So Phoenix have screwed everything. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, just one other thing to note about the Phoenix is that they also have the smackings of a clan that could be completely degenerate in 6 months' time.
Yes.
Because they have at least for because this game so far has been really interactive and really well balanced, and I would say some of the Phoenix cards represent a few examples of asymmetrical interactivity that this game has. And I would list Display of Power high among those cards. That is a card that your opponent could do nothing about, because they will declare their attack and they will go, I will attack, I will send 2 or 3 of my guys to this province, and you will say no defenders, and there's nothing they can do about that.
Yeah. And
then you will say, now I will Display of Power, I will completely turn, I will turn your carefully laid plans on their head, and that's not so bad now when the Phoenix are inconsistent. If the Phoenix become consistent, those kind of effects can lead to complete, they can be destructive. They can be really unpleasant to play against.
And just to quickly add, we are missing 2 cards, which we've partially seen. So we know Naive Student is a 1-cost zip military 2 political, but we don't know what the rest of it is. And we do know that their holding essentially says draw a card. So it consistently says draw a card. There's a bit of consistency for you. And drawing cards in a card game has never been a bad thing. So
no, it's always good.
Card draw wins games. I'm going to give Eoin the last hurrah on Phoenix. So you get the definitive opinion here on.
Well, the other thing I was going to mention is we've got 4 things we need to mention very quickly before we wrap up this podcast.
Very true.
So, I do have a lot of opinions of Phoenix, but we flash onto them.
Oh God, yeah, important.
Yeah, it's
this time stuff we should
almost 2 hours long, and we still haven't gotten anywhere near to finishing.
We do want to mention that L5R Honored competition is ending tonight. For those of you who don't know about it, they're holding a 100-player kind of release event on in London, which is available by invitation only. And the way you get your invitation is you go onto social media, Twitter or Facebook, and post a message honoring your clan of choice with the hashtag L5R Honored, no you, by before the end of tonight. It's 11:59 p.m. Central Daylight Time on Monday the 31st July. So that's, you've got a couple of hours left to do that if you haven't entered already. And they are going to select a number of people to go along, to be invited and get a free core set and come along to London and get to play some games, which would be great.
And if you have no interest in attending, check those out, because the posts some of the players have been putting up have been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
There's some real quality in there.
Really cool to see.
Yeah.
Owen, what are the other things that we need to mention?
The other things are that FFG just posted that tomorrow they're going to put up their organised play information, learning about the game's launch party, the Gen Con prizes, and much more. And they put up art of 2 Imperial Favor cards, it looks like, with black and white card art on them, which are, one of them is on the +1 politics side, that's Crane personality, and on the +1 military side, it's a Lion personality. So that might be the promo for Gen Con, or that could just be a generic release promo. We do not know yet. Thirdly, we're going to get 1 podcast in before Gen Con, which will be on the 14th of August. So we might be previewing Unicorn, or we might be doing Unicorn and Scorpion. Depends on what FFC do.
In a bumper 5-hour podcast.
So we do want we may want some people have anything they'd like us to talk about prior to Gen Con, any bold predictions got in, or figuring out who's going to win or whatever else. That'd be great. And lastly, I just wanted to mention part of our patented beaver facts.
It's very true.
Beaver sexual organs used to be used for medicinal effect. However, unlike a lot of other traditional medicine effects, which were kind of hokum, it had some basis in fact, because beavers ate willow bark and they absorbed the salicin, and the salicin was converted by their body's metabolic processes into salicylic acid, which you can further modify to acetyl salicylic acid, which is aspirin. So they actually had some antipyretic and anti-inflammatory effects.
So wait, if
I can
I've got a
add to
headache,
this as
where
well, actually.
do I get this again? Where do I get this from the beaver?
Just buy aspirin, or you can gnaw on the outside of a willow tree, or scrape some willow bark off a willow tree and make it into a tea.
No. Straight to the beaver.
No,
what
but-
part of the beaver
yeah.
do I have to eat?
It's sex organs, specifically the testicles and the vaginal follicles.
All right.
Just so you're aware, actually,
Headache? Suck on
beavers-
these.
It used to be a rumor up until the 1100s that beavers used to eat off or bite off their own genitals. They used to bite off their own testicles. But
Now we know why.
This was debunked.
If you got a headache.
Not even fixes it like gnawing on your own testicles.
I know. So the testicles were has amazing therapeutic or medicinal properties, but they used to bite them off themselves so nobody could get them. That was the rumor, apparently. But anyhow, okay. Do you want to have the last hurrah on Phoenix to close off the session here, Owen? Have we said it all, or is there something yet to be said?
I think they're going to print the Elemental Masters, and everything's going to fall into place. That's what I think is going to happen.
So the whole game.
Yeah, but
The whole game is fucked.
No, just that they're going to be very scattershot, and then all of a sudden they're going to swing into terrifying focus.
Fair enough. All right, so you've heard it here first, folks. 5 Elemental Masters are coming. Okay, we're going to wrap it up there. I've been Andy. We've had Baz, Justin, and Owen. Thank you all for coming. Thanks for listening in. It's been a pleasure doing the cast as usual, and we hope to see you again next time for the 5-hour marathon bumper session of 2 clans, possibly. Let's see what happens.
yeah.
Take care, guys. All the best.
Yeah.
Okay.